Welcome and blessings, brothers and sisters in Christ and his divine irony, who is Kek. It is an honour to greet you from the National Cathedral of Catholic Kekistan in Kekstantinople. The Catholic Church of Kekistan is one of our most ancient institutions. We grew from the unique culture of Kekistan, who in Roman times belonged to the now resurfaced cult of Kek. We incorporate the Kekish language and customs of Kekistan into our liturgy, and as you can see, that is evidenced in our artwork. However, like most of Kekistan, bar the lucky remnant few, our culture was wiped out. Our diaspora from that day trudged the lands, farming dank means where we could find pasture, but being oppressed everywhere. However, we did manage to spread dissonance amongst normies, whether we knew we were Kekistani or not. It is only recently that we rediscovered our roots, and we are together as a nation rebuilding free Kekistan. It is in this spirit of ecumenicism that I address all our peoples everywhere. For all of you believe in Kek, no matter your interpretation, he is the spirit of satire that reflects evil back at itself, that kills bad ideas with ridicule, as Elijah mocked the prophets of Baal in their day. So today we shitpost his and all of the unclean spirits worshipped by the occult elite. We are the frogs of biblical plague on the officials of Egypt. As it was then, so it is today. It is in this spirit we act and have always acted. For us of Keki heritage, free speech is oxygen. Many have fallen to the genocides of the past, and we will not be passive bystanders to the active genocide of our fellow Kekistanis. We do, however, caution just war. Even in the diaspora, we will fight Normistanis daily. We just cannot help it. It's in our blood, whether we know we are of Keki heritage or we do not. We have many brothers and sisters out there who do not know yet. It is our duty to preach to the normie. So it's in this spirit I wish to begin this first address from the newly renamed Church of Saints Pepe and Koffefi. Both killed but resurrected to the mean plane where they live forever with Kek, and through his power intercede through Kekistan. This past few months we have seen many fall, including Army of Kek, God rest his soul. So we must begin our offensive, armed with accurate knowledge of who our enemy is, and it is not just random shit posters. This is a concerted effort, my friends. This person is, in my own and Kekistani deep state's estimation, the Queen of Hearts in the pack, linked closely to the Queen of Diamonds, James Alefantis of Pizzagate fame. Now, you may remember him from my previous podcast. He's a particularly nasty, pederast, narcissist and all-round Dexter type, so if you want to know more about him, please see Frank Winstead, the original Pizzagate conspiracy theorist. In that it is primary sourced and you can make up your own mind about him. It's got recordings of the weirdo and his little network bullying his way through local government. Anyway, it's David Brock we will concentrate on in this address. Yeah, you may know him from the pedestrian DNC party leaks, which probably Seth Rich did, or it could have been Goosefelt. We're looking into this. It looks like there were multiple sources, but anyway, on with this. They show overt manipulation of the media amongst other weirder and sicker stuff that we have just talked about. Thelema is spirit cooking, and spirit cooking is Thelema. These are both terms found in the pedestrian emails, and I do beg you go and have a look into these. Now, SHAREBLUE is his baby. It is a many-tentacled hydra, but we must have faith, as the prophet Ezekiel saith. Behold, all souls are mine. The soul of the Father as well as the soul of the Son is mine. The soul who sins shall die. We, Kekistanis, shall deliver justice and human dignity for all. We must protect our freedoms even in the face of terror, government or external, such as ISIS and whoever may control them. We must band together as Kekistan, no matter our opinions. We may not agree with each other, but we will fight to the death to preserve other Kekistanis' right to express their views. Now, you may have noticed that the rise of Kekistan is directly proportional to the rise in power of these organisations. Correct the Record, a super PAC for Hillary, and SHAREBLUE, both organisations with Brock at the helm. Please see the diagram. This is worrying, as we shall see herein. Even if you are a Democrat by nature, this blatant manipulation of the agenda is wrong. This is the reason for the Russia narrative, which is our bread and butter here in Kekistan today. It is what fuels the blue tick libtards. Why is this? Well, we shall talk about this man, George Soros. We'll get back to him later. However, let's look at his right-hand man in the media, not just in the US, David Brock. Who is this son of a bitch? Now, David rose from the ranks of being an investigative journalist who wrote a book about Hillary herself, The Seduction of Hillary Rodham. Now, one might ask, why did he take the leap from the Republican Party across to the Democrat Party? And how did he get to work for that which he criticised most, i.e. Hillary herself and her campaign? It wasn't the DNC, because remember, Bernie had this nomination stolen. Now, Brock set up his media empire as, well, as Vanity Fair coined it, the left-wing Breitbart alternative, self-admittedly being partisan and telling half-truths and lies. Well, not so much lies as admitting and burying the truth. Now, you might remember these guys, the Koch brothers from the Obama elections, and the Tea Party that rose from them. Now, David Brock wanted to do similar with the left as the Koch brothers did with the right. I remember at the time Alex Jones going mad about these Koch brothers, and it was all true. I mean, as we can see here in this memo, this article, right here, Brock's recent machinations, including a January conference where he promoted his own organisations amid chatter that he'll launch a Koch brothers-style donor network, showed that he and those like him have no interest in learning from or adapting to what the country needs in this moment. So how did Brock get into this position? How does his organisational network work? Well, these are the questions we're going to look into today. Looking at this diagram, you can see that Brock is in charge of 3 particular places, particular organisations of interest. Moco Social Media, which turned into Blue Nation Review and they merged. True Blue Media, which is the parent group of SHAREBLUE. Media Matters, which is a not-for-profit, which also runs Media Matters in America, which is up to some shady dealings as we'll get into. And these all work together, as we shall see, to capture a wide demographic of people. In fact, it pretty much gets you from cradle to grave. This is well funded and professional. We might say the left can't meme, but as someone told me recently, and I tend to agree, the left mean better than we do because they get to the people that they need to. They've got full spectrum dominance, as we shall see. Now, this is what I mean about memeing. They might not get many eyeballs, but people that pick up this key demographic, i.e. Hispanics, are going to get this. I mean, look at this. And while Trump was claiming he's doing well with Latinos, protesters outside San Jose, California, rally got raucous. And here, Trump won around 40% of the Latino vote in Nevada, but that accounts for about 1,300 votes. Still, more than 2 Hispanics on the ballot. And these things are repeated over and over and over and over again, and these target people. Now, we know this is happening. We actually know more than we can say that ShareBlue actually do use bots. They really, really do use bots to do this, and it's something which is quite a technical challenge. And this is what David Brock was talking about when he was talking about the technologies, etc., of the electioneering. We need to be wise to this, and we need to shut these bots down. I don't know how we're going to do it. All the meme magic in the world cannot achieve what these bots are achieving. Like it or not, Kekistan, we're going to have to fight fire with fire on this one at some point. The question is, can we beat a multi-million-dollar industry? I mean, take a look at this, for instance. Yeah, conspiracy thread, Reddit. People go to Reddit to actually get the news nowadays. It's very sad, but it's true. Our conspiracy has been targeted with a massive number of coordinated voter bots to take control of the narrative on this sub. The timing and the scale of this aggression can only mean that something big is about to happen before Trump's inauguration. Well, nothing really big happened. They tried, and they have been trying to get him impeached, and for a lot of specious reasons, and this is why, or rather how they are doing it, and we must be wise to this. They are the enemies of democracy. They are the enemies of both the left and the right and the centre ground where Kekistan stands. And that also reminds me, people, remember, Kekistan is centrist. We're not of the right. We are a shitpost against both left and right. We stand on the fence and we spit on them both. A holy spit, but spit nonetheless, because these people are unworthy of our respect. The mainstream news has lost our respect now, and I don't think they're ever going to get it back after this. So, looking at the diagram again, we can see a bit of a revision here where I've included American Bridge. Now, this thing about American Bridge paying Media Matters for their ground rental, but Media Matters not disclosing it, it's a big deal. It should bring them down. I mean, Media Matters is a not-for-profit. Yeah, this profit seems to be dispersed amongst, well, probably going to David Brock. This is seemed to be implied by David Brock's ex-lover, not James Alefantis this time, but one William Gray, who in this article, Brock thanks several in his books for he lived together with him, and he sold his $850,000 house in Rehoboth, Delaware, to pay him off, it seems, in a legal dispute. A super PAC sharing space with Media Matters, who is supposed to be a watchdog, is bad enough in and of itself, by them paying money into this organisation and them not declaring it as taxable. They made a lot of money on this. Now, it seems David Brock is well known for being able to launder money. There's rumours of his mob involvement. If anyone cares to find out, there are pictures of Brock and known mobsters. There are obviously got to be documents out there somewhere. Please, someone find them. They are missing, but the allegations of his mobster ties in his early days are numerous. However, what we have got to go on as solid evidence is this the American Bridge thing, and we can also implicate the Bonner Group, which was David Brock's unregistered solicitor, and it was used by him to launder money. So go and have a look at the citizensaudit.com report again and look into Bonner Group as well. So this is how David Brock wishes to go ahead in the new reality and to win, now that Hillary has lost. In the next 4 years, Media Matters will continue its core mission of disarming right-wing misinformation. Read in for that. Anything the right wing says that is positive, and Russia did everything. While leading the fight against a new generation of conservative disinformation, the proliferation of fake news and propaganda now threatening the country's information ecosystem. Here's what success will look like. Serial misinformers, read in for that Breitbart News, InfoWars, anything right off Mao, and right-wing propagandists inhabiting everything from social media to the highest levels of government will be exposed and discredited. So, show Kekistan. He is a war criminal. He is actually writing about cultural genocide. And that's not just a shitpost, it actually is cultural genocide. You're taking away a whole section of the community and basically supporting the idea that they're Nazis and to treat them as such. Internet and social media platforms like Google and Facebook will no longer uncritically and without consequence host and enrich fake news sites and propagandists. Indeed, they have managed to shut us down. And this is why Media Matters is actually like a controlling entity behind all of these groups now. Toxic alt-right social media fueled harassment campaigns that silence dissent and poison our national discourse will be punished and halted. Punished and halted? What, by the left-wing Gestapo? American Bridge will cement itself as a standard bearer of opposition research, build on its role as a progressive clearinghouse of information, read in for that Big Brother, the Ministry of Propaganda, that drives the narrative on Republican office holders and candidates, and be at the epicenter of Democrats' work to regain power, starting in 2017 and building to 2020. Here's what success will look like. Trump will be defeated either through impeachment or at the ballot box in 2020. Now, this is no firm evidence. There's no firm evidence to go on. It's just they wish to impeach him and they will use whatever means necessary to achieve that end. The balance of power will shift back to Democrats. We will measurably impact US Senate, gubernatorial and state legislative races. We will free ourselves from solely relying on the press. Our robust digital program will reach voters directly. First of all, most worrying is this Moco social media, which built its own IP and sold into schools as sports apps so that parents, coaches and students could interact along the journey of childhood development. And it's a good idea. It was highly focused on schools and it claimed to have 11 million students exposed to their contact through the app bought on these educational licenses. It's not on personal, you don't download and pay for the app yourself. Your institution buys it and it's integrated. It's the way IT procurement generally works in the public sector. And this is public sector. You have a captive audience. It was bought out 80% by Brock and is still owned in part by Peter Dow, I believe. And it began serving up DNC adverts to students. Now, political indoctrination of a captive audience is something we expect of communist China, who we'll get back to later. But in education, this is just impermissible. A parent should be really pissed at this. I mean, if you're American and you get these apps, 11 million of you apparently do, please show the DNC content, as we have seen with the Moco Media, Blue Nation. They've managed to target one section of the population, that is people coming up to voting age, getting kids when they are, kids are generally more liberal than adults, and really running with it. And hence we've got Antifa, who are just, college students. They were starting out college perhaps, or they were being influenced in 2014-15 by such things. Even in 2016, first year students will be getting influenced by this sort of stuff. This might account for some of the rise in radicalism we're seeing. It's not just in the universities, it's not just indoctrination by gender studies majors. People are going to universities with these ideas. Now, for the other bit, you've got True Blue Media, the parent company, which has got a very shady ownership structure. Well, it's just not known. Well, we actually do know what it is, but it's not properly declared. Now they target, they're a marketing agency, and of course they work for small and big businesses, and they work for the DNC as well, and they target the over 30s, you know, people like your mom and dad, your aunties, your uncles, you know, even yourself maybe. I know certainly me. They're targeting the age range of Facebook users, people who aren't using Snapchat or Instagram, these sorts of radical things, you know, things that people, even the silver surfers are using, Facebook especially, and they've managed to shut that down pretty effectively. So as you can see, that's the internet, that's the Blue Nation Review, True Blue Media, and then the TV, the major media, you know, the dinosaur media, whatever you care to call it, that's where Media Matters is, and that's where the money really is. Because in the old days, these things used to be like authoritative, but now they're more blogs for super rich megalomaniacs like George Soros or Carlos Slim and name below, Rupert Murdoch, for instance. They become tools of power rather than tools for truth. And investigative journalists, which is where this David Brock comes from, David Brock should be going back to being an investigative journalist, not being toxic like this. I mean, this is the ultimate in toxicity. Nothing that the Christian right ever did was this toxic. I mean, stupid, sure. Oh God, don't get me started on the American Christian right. They make us all look stupid. It's getting out of control, people. It really is. So let's read another statement about SHAREBLUE. So this is post-elections. This is not what we planned, but it's what we're built for. The progressive infrastructure groups we've built together were started long before Hillary Clinton ran for president. They were always intended to be the first line of defence and offence when we are under siege. We are going to resist the normalisation of Donald Trump, his every conflict of interest, his every bit of cronyism, his every move towards authoritarianism, his every subversion of our democratic systems and principles, his every radical departure from foreign and domestic policy norms. Reading that, his every move, his every motive, as I said before, we will apply lessons learned. Generally speaking, and simply put, Democrats got clobbered in the digital space. Oh yes, they did. Even with you, David. I mean, the pedestrian emails, etc. Oh, how was your heart attack, by the way? I hear Linda wasn't too pleased about Podesta, and it might be over between you and Linda de Rothschild. My condolences. Digital programs, both tactical and messaging, fail to actively listen to and engage the online grassroots universe. So we shall continually put our things in our ears and go, la, 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 Russia, Russia, Russia. The Trump camp spoke effectively to the grassroots and relied on online channels to disseminate information and misinformation and influence the media, even getting fake stories onto cable TV. Now, that again is a half truth. Yes, Donald Trump is a bullshit artist. He exaggerates knowingly, and you can look at the way he phrases things to see where he is going. Actually, in retrospect, you see that Donald Trump's tweets are actually quite smart, and they play everyone that what's the word? Underestimates Donald Trump's ability as fools. So, and the right colonised Facebook, which has established a virtual monopoly on information distribution, right, as opposed to Media Matters. So you can see, obviously, this digital age is requiring a new lot of shills. They had the MSM, now they need SHAREBLUE and allied organisations to push it on these things. And contrary to what it says here, the right haven't colonised Facebook. If you're a Kekistani, for instance, you're basically showed from Facebook instantly. Our digital efforts were largely focused on changing the narrative with the traditional media versus voters. This worked to a point, but wasn't enough in the face of a news media incentivised by profit and access and fearful of intimidation and bullying by the Trump forces. Oh really? Oh really? The Trump forces were the big bullies, were they, David? Seriously, this is just ridiculous. So the delusional left gets led along its merry way by David Brock and his company on everywhere from your local TV news all the way through to your Facebook feed and your Twitter feed. Now, let's move on to the wider picture, to the whole of the Brock network. Looking at this diagram here, we see obviously SHAREBLUE, David Brock, True Blue Media, and what we were talking about, Blue Nation Review, which is Moco Social Media, and they've got interesting people which are connected to some interesting places. Peter Dow is the 20% shareholder in True Blue Media LLC. SHAREBLUE COO, Chief Operating Officer and website registrant, has ties to organisations used by British, Arab, Israeli special interests as well as the Clinton Foundation. So this is Peter Dow. Following the various connections of SHAREBLUE employees leads to a global trace wading through numbers of other charitable foundations and front companies being used as vessels to maintain lines of communication between global players, hoping to pull strings and use Brock's propaganda to influence the minds of American voters. Many of the individuals involved with SHAREBLUE have troubling histories as corporate lobbyists and consultants for a large list of special interest groups, raising questions about the various sources of influence pulling strings in the Democratic Party machine. True Blue Media CEO, Chief Executive Officer Peter Dow was an advisor to Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation and other special interest DNC figures. Peter Dow is the CEO of SHAREBLUE's holding company, True Blue Media LLC, blah blah blah, played an integral role in the site's transformation from True Blue Media to SHAREBLUE. Mr. Dow was a former Hillary advisor, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and former Senator Arlene Specter advisor. His website reveals that he had advised the Clinton Foundation at the now shuttered Clinton Global Initiative, the US Department of Energy, the United Nations Foundation, Microsoft, Intel, AARP, which is the Press Association, Inc., Action Against Hunger, PR Newswire, and Bloomberg Philanthropies, two organisations which have close ties to the City of London-based UBM. So, look at that. That's a lot of clout indeed. But getting back to the Chinese Communist Party, the holding company which owns Blue Nation Review retains a 20% in SHAREBLUE. Board members include figures in the Australian mining company with deep ties to China. So this is Malcolm Raymond Scott James, who's involved with Changcheng Goldfields Limited. Brock purchased an 80% stake in Blue Nation Review. From Moco Social Media Limited, who we've discussed, who retained a 20% equity stake. Moco Social Media Limited is a holding company located in Arlington, Virginia. Oddly, for a social media company, Moco Social Media's board of directors includes non-executive chairman by the name of Malcolm Raymond Scott James, an Australian mining project manager. Mr. James serves as a non-executive finance director at Eureka Mining plc, a mining group located in the City of London, where there's no massive mines, aren't there? No, it's actually in China. Since 2002, James has acted as an executive director at Changcheng Goldfields Limited. Changcheng Goldfields Limited is registered in Australian Holdings, is registered in Australia and holding various exploration projects in China. Its largest asset was the Gold Mountain project located in Chanshen Gold Belt in Zhanjiang, China. Gold Mountain, Jinshan, is in Mandarin is a commonly used Chinese nickname historically for the western region of North America, specifically California, due to the state's historic gold rush. Going on. Chanshen Goldfields engaged in an apparent cash transfer scheme with the Chinese government disguised as a mining project. So, bit of a nod. Chanshen Goldfield Limited entry into the volatile marketplace was a strange choice in a country where many more operations to offer an investment firm ostensibly seeking to maximise profit and minimise risk exist. Their Chinese business partner raises questions about the incentive to grant the company access to a restricted industry sector in China, given Malcolm Scott James's ties to the holding company that managed Blue Nation Review and continues to hold a 20% stake in SHAREBLUE. Chanshen's Goldfields partner holding 10% in the Gold Mountain project was revealed in Chanshen's mining permit approval obtained by mining website 24-Hour Gold to be a Chinese mining organization called Jianshen Gold Mining Co. Limited. Jianshen Gold Mountain Mining in turn is held entirely by Hexing Gold Holding Company Limited, a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands in an apparent attempt to conceal Jianshen Gold Mountain's true owner. Hengxin Gold's list of directors shows that the company's chairman is Xi Jinping, a Chinese billionaire from Xiamen, China, whose Xiamen Hengxin Company Co. Limited holds a diverse range of assets in the construction industry, auto parts, electronics, transportation, dairy, real estate and mining sectors. So, as the crony capitalist model of China works, this is pretty standard fare. If you're a party member and you get all the breaks, basically. It's not so much communist anymore since liberalisation in that sense, but it's certainly still a very powerful one-party state. Zhanjiang were intended to disguise a large cash transfer from the Chinese government in return for influence in SHAREBLUE. The concealment of Mr. Key in the Gold Mountain project and the steps taken to conceal his involvement in it raised questions about the true nature of Hengxin's dealings with a group whose executive had deep ties to SHAREBLUE. The immediate sale of the entire project to a Chinese state-run enterprise and Jianshen's merger into another Australian firm indicates that the group's involvement with the Gold Mountain project may well have been disguised agreement to peddle influence in SHAREBLUE in return for financial reimbursement. So, literally, this is the Communist Party of China trying to peddle political influence in America. Marussia? How about China? Has anyone brought up China? I wonder why they haven't. And talking about foreign interests, even as a Brit, let me read this. So we're talking about Mr. Peter Dow. He's played an advisory role in One Voice International, an international grassroots movement that amplifies the voice of mainstream Israelis and Palestinians, empowering them to propel their elected representatives towards the two-state solution. So reading into this, here's basically AIPAC. One Voice's partners include an impressive list of global special interests, including the Association of British Muslims, the UK Conservative Party, Google, Crown Family Philanthropies, the European Commission, part of the European Union, yes, High Atlas Foundation, the UK Labour Party, the Rain Foundation and the Rockefellers Fund. Peter Dow's involvement with One Voice creates a very apparent conflict of interest given the massive number of foreign interests who are affiliated with the organisation. So, yes, Israel. Do I need to say any more? No, that's probably for another video. No, a few more. It's One Voice is an affiliate of the Peaceworks Foundation with ties to Mexico, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the City of London, and other foreign states. One Voice is part of Peaceworks Foundation, funded by a Mexican-American billionaire, Daniel Lubetzky, and run with business associates Alan Costriel, Yuri Weiss, and S. Daniel Abram. Can anyone see the connecting factor here? Mr. Lubetzky is the founder and CEO of Kind Snacks, Israeli newspaper. Israel Hayom has stated that Peaceworks Foundation maintains branches in Tel Aviv, Israel, Ramallah, Saudi Arabia, and London, England. That's confusing, putting it like that. Ramallah is in Palestine, Tel Aviv is in Israel. Why did they miss out Palestine? Saudi Arabia and London, England. Peaceworks website mentions that the foundation does business with Israelis, Palestinians, Egyptians, Australians, Turks, Indonesians, and Sri Lankans. The wide range of foreign connections and interests associated with Peaceworks indicates additional conflicts of interest given the apparent presence of intermediary figures such as Peter Dow in leadership positions at SHAREBLUE and its holding company. The large number of foreign political parties, special interests and foundations associated with Peaceworks and One Voice might raise serious concerns about their influences within SHAREBLUE and how that influence might be affecting decision-making processes in the group. David Brock's various propaganda machines are by nature already problematic, with the revelation that Chinese mogul state-run enterprises and foundations with deep ties to the financial world of London, Israel, Saudi Arabia and a number of other players have ties to SHAREBLUE and its affiliate companies. Brock, Dow and others in the propaganda group could be in violation of the Foreign Agent Registration Act for failing to declare their roles as actors working on behalf of foreign principals. Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. So this is something, guys, we've got to push. The large number of foreign interest groups connected to Brock and other officers in positions of control indicate far from being an organisation that promotes liberal ideals, SHAREBLUE exists as an outlet for political interest to subvert democratic institutions in America and hijack liberalism to promote the interests of those who wish to take advantage of American citizens. Says every Pepe in the world scratching their chin. Yes, I wonder what this sounds like. This is these shills must be stopped for the sake of free Kekistan, for the sake of America, for the sake of every other Anglophone nation, or even France. I assume they probably have even branches out in Europe. You know, they're in Britain. Media Matters in Britain. Brock has his tentacles wide. In the free Kekistani diaspora, we have to be aware of this. In America, it is especially important. You still, God love you, are the leaders of the free world at the moment. So your interest is our interest. Everyone's interest is in America. And frankly, in Donald Trump, he is the last great hope. What would we be living with if these people had have got in power? What would we be living with if Hillary and, you know, David Brock were actually doing what they want to do and shutting down free opposition? This is totally unconstitutional. This is making Chinese communists wet. You know, have you seen, for instance, Google, for instance? All the verified ticks on Google, it's like Twitter. It is the Ministry of Information now, and Media Matters is the main culprit. And as we know, it goes all the way back to Soros and his billions and billions in hedge funds, and these people are just shady. So as prelate of Catholics of Kekistan, I say it is your duty to get him audited, to bring down this cancer on democracy. I've said my bit. Please do your research, please comment, please get back to me at Cardinals of Kek on Twitter. Please follow, subscribe, tell your friends. This is the cancer we need to fight.